The gate guard's hand connected with her face before she could finish her sentence. The sharp crack echoed across the Philadelphia Police Academy parking lot. Her badge clattered to the asphalt. This is one of those real-life stories that sounds impossible until you see the footage. Among touching stories of justice delayed, this one stands apart because of what happened next. The woman didn't scream, didn't cry. She simply touched her cheek, picked up her badge, and drove away. The guard laughed with his partner. He had no idea what he had just done. Have you ever been punished for who you are before anyone knew what you had accomplished? Have you ever watched someone destroy their own life because they couldn't see past your skin? Kendra Whitaker had lived that reality her entire life. But this time would be different. On a cold morning, Captain Kendra Whitaker pulled her Mercedes to the academy gate, government plates visible beneath the frost. She had been awake since early, reviewing personnel files and memorizing names. It was her first day as training commander, and she wanted everything perfect. Officer Vance Keller stepped from the guard booth, thumbs hooked in his belt. He had manned this gate for years, knowing exactly who belonged and who did not. He did not even glance at her plates. Staff parking is around back. He pointed toward the visitor lot without looking at her face. Kendra lowered her window completely, offering a professional smile and a calm voice. "Good morning. I'm Captain Kendra Whitaker reporting to Commander Elias Grant." Keller laughed. Actually laughed. "Captain, you?" His eyes traveled from her braided hair to her blazer, dismissing everything they touched. "This gate is for personnel only. I am personnel." She kept her hands visible on the steering wheel, years of knowing this dance guiding her. "Training commander position. I have my credentials right here." He leaned against her door, close enough that she could smell the coffee on his breath. "Training commander is Lieutenant Morrison. Don't know what game you're playing, but you need to turn this car around." Morrison retired last month. Kendra reached slowly toward her briefcase. "My appointment letter is in my bag." "Keep your hands where I can see them." His voice sharpened. His right hand drifted toward his belt. Not quite threatening, just reminding her who held the power here. She froze, calculated every angle. "Officer Keller, I understand you're doing your job, but if you'll just call the main desk and ask for Commander Grant, this will be cleared up in moments." He pulled out his radio and clicked it twice. "Yeah, this is front gate. Got someone here claiming to be a Captain Whitaker. Says she's the new training commander." He deliberately mispronounced her name. A little power play she had seen before. The radio crackled back. "No Whitaker on my sheet. Tell her public entrance is on Broad Street." Keller grinned, vindication tasting sweet. "You heard dispatch. Now move along before I call a tow truck." Kendra's jaw tightened just slightly. "It's Whitaker. Please check again." "You calling me stupid?" He straightened. "I know how to spell. You're not on the list because you're not supposed to be here." A second guard emerged from the booth. Officer Riley Lynn, according to his nameplate, younger, uncertain. "Vance, maybe we should just call Lieutenant Morrison to confirm." "Morrison's not here yet." Keller waved him off. "I've got this handled. Another one of these sovereign citizen types. Thinks if they say they're a captain enough times, it becomes true." Kendra's phone buzzed on the passenger seat. The screen lit up with a text preview visible. "Commissioner Hale, see you at the briefing." Keller never looked. His eyes stayed fixed on her face, reading threat in every micro-expression. "Officer, my credentials are on a lanyard around my neck. Inside my blazer, I'm going to reach for them now. I'm telling you what I'm doing before I do it. Hands visible." He barked it like an order on a traffic stop. She showed him her palms, then moved her right hand slowly toward her collar. Her fingers touched the lanyard. She began to pull the badge wallet out from inside her blazer. Keller moved fast. His hand shot out, swatting hers away. The motion carried through. His palm connected with her cheek, open-handed, sharp. The sound cracked like a gunshot. Kendra stumbled sideways against her car door. The badge wallet flew from her hand, hit the asphalt, and landed face down a short distance away. Her cheek burned. Her eyes watered from shock, not pain. She had taken worse hits, but never from someone wearing the same uniform. "You assaulted an officer by reaching into your jacket." Keller stepped back, hands still raised. "Lynn, you saw that? Furtive movement, non-compliance, aggressive posture?" Lynn looked sick. "Vance, she told you what she was doing." "I gave a direct order. She disobeyed." Keller pointed at Kendra. "Ma'am, leave immediately or you're under arrest for trespassing and attempted assault on a police officer." Kendra stood motionless for moments. Her hand touched her cheek. No blood, just heat, just humiliation. Her mind worked like a machine, calculating angles, consequences, strategies. She had been here before. Not exactly here, but close enough to know the script. She could escalate. She could demand a supervisor. She could make this ugly right now, but she had learned patience. She had learned when to push and when to wait. This man had just handed her something more valuable than an apology. He had handed her ammunition. She bent down, picked up her badge wallet. Keller still did not look at it. His eyes stayed locked on her, watching for the next threat. The badge lay there, captain's shield visible, name engraved clearly. He never glanced down. Kendra opened her phone, typed a message, screen angled away so he could not see. Moments of typing. Then she looked up. "Officer Keller." Her voice was ice. "You have one chance to look at my credentials before I drive away. I don't need to look at fake IDs. He crossed his arms. "Go now." "You're sure?" She held the badge wallet toward him, still face down in her palm. "One last chance." "Positive. Move this vehicle or I'm having it towed." She got back in her car, started the engine, put it in reverse. As she backed out, Keller turned to Lynn, smiling. "See? All bluff. They always back down when you stand firm. That's years of experience talking." Lynn said nothing. He was staring at something on the ground, a small rectangle of plastic. Kendra's appointment letter had fallen from her briefcase. Lynn picked it up, read the header. His face went gray. "Vance, you need to see this." But Kendra was already gone, her Mercedes disappearing around the corner toward the public entrance. And Keller was already walking back to the booth, satisfied he had protected the academy from another fraud. He had only moments before his world ended. Kendra walked through the main entrance, past the metal detectors, past the receptionist who looked up with a smile. "Can I help you?" "Captain Kendra Whitaker for Commander Grant." The receptionist's eyes widened. She checked her computer. "Oh, you're early. Let me call up right away. The commander's been excited to meet you." From the hallway, a radio crackled. Gate security still broadcasting. "Front gate secured. Possible impersonator incident resolved. Subject departed without further issue." Kendra's expression did not change. She waited while the receptionist dialed. Moments later, she was walking toward the elevator. Third floor, Commander Suite. Every step measured, every breath controlled. The burning on her cheek had faded to a dull ache. She would check for a mark later. Commander Elias Grant met her at his office door, 60 years old, silver hair, tired eyes that had seen too many battles. He extended his hand, then stopped, stared at her face. "What happened to your cheek?" "Your gate officer just assaulted me." She said it flatly, no emotion, just fact. "I'd like to handle it through proper channels." Grant's face went through 3 expressions in moments: shock, anger, calculation. "Tell me everything." She did. Every detail, every word Keller said, every moment of the confrontation. She recited it like a police report because that was exactly what it was. Grant listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening with each sentence. Vance Keller. He said the name like a curse. He's been problematic, but this crosses every line. I'm suspending him immediately. I'll call internal affairs right now. With respect, Commander, I want to handle this my way first. Kendra met his eyes. I need time. Grant leaned back. Kendra, you're the victim here. Department policy requires immediate investigation when an officer assaults anyone, especially another officer. I can't just ignore that. I've spent years working around policy to fix systemic problems. She did not blink. This isn't about one guard. It's about whatever made him think he could do that. Give me time. If I'm wrong, you can do it your way. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Agreed. But I'm assigning an internal affairs liaison. This needs documentation. They shook hands. As Kendra turned to leave, Grant called after her. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. You deserved better on your first day. I've had worse first days, Commander. At least this time I outranked the problem. At the gate guard booth, Lynn stood near the coffee maker watching Keller fill out the incident report. His hands shook slightly as he wrote, Suspicious vehicle. Driver refused to identify, made furtive movements, physical contact necessary to establish control. Lynn's voice was quiet. That woman just walked through the main entrance. Maria said she's actually the new training commander. Keller's pen stopped moving. He did not breathe. Then he pulled out his phone, opened the department roster, scrolled to training command. Whitaker K. Captain, start date today. The phone slipped from his hand and clattered on the desk. She didn't show me ID. She reached into her jacket. I had to protect myself. You hit her. Lynn was not looking at him. I saw it. It wasn't self-defense. She was threatening me. Keller stood up fast enough that his chair rolled backward. You saw how aggressive she was, how she wouldn't comply with direct orders. Lynn picked up the appointment letter he had found and handed it to Keller. Official letterhead, Commissioner's signature. Captain Kendra Whitaker appointed training commander effective today, reporting directly to Commander Grant with full authority over Academy operations and personnel. Keller read it several times. His face went from red to white to gray. How was I supposed to know? She drove up in an unmarked car, didn't show credentials, started making demands. She told you her name. She told you her rank. She tried to show you her badge. Lynn's voice stayed level, factual. You didn't look. Command staff briefing, conference room, department heads around a mahogany table. Kendra entered last and took the empty seat at Commander Grant's right hand. Every eye tracked the faint redness on her cheek. Commissioner Marcus Hale stood at the head of the table, 62, 3 decades in law enforcement, appointed with a mandate to reform. Before we begin, I want to introduce Captain Kendra Whitaker, our new training commander. Kendra brings an exemplary record, former commander of West Division, where she achieved a significant increase in case closures. She also designed our current bias training protocol, which has been adopted by many departments nationwide. Polite applause. Kendra nodded. Acknowledgement, professional, and controlled. Deputy Chief Lena Vargas leaned forward, sharp eyes missing nothing. We've needed fresh eyes on academy training, especially after last year's complaints. I've reviewed the files. Kendra's voice carried clearly. This facility has a culture problem, not just a few bad actors. We'll be addressing that systematically. The video hit social media, seconds-long, shaky phone footage from a cadet jogging past the gate. The angle was poor, the audio muffled, but the moment was crystal clear. A white officer slapping a black woman, her badge flying through the air, the sharp crack of palm on flesh. Caption: New training commander assaulted by gate guard on her first day, Philly police. This is why reform never works. They literally keep change out. Moments later, views climbed rapidly. Local news picked it up, national soon after. The comment section became a battlefield. This is exactly what's wrong with policing. Video doesn't show what she did before. Fake news. Departments don't hire people like that for command. People like that? Say what you mean. Racist. Donovan Hale arrived at the academy. Union rep, veteran labor attorney, who had defended many officers in his career and lost few cases. He found Keller in a holding room, head in his hands. Tell me your version. Everything. Keller emphasized her aggressive tone, her refusal to comply, her furtive movement toward her jacket, her failure to properly identify herself. By the time he finished, he had almost convinced himself it was true. Hale listened without expression, then pulled out his tablet and showed Keller the video. This is already viral. The department will want blood. But if she didn't identify herself properly, if you had reasonable concern for your safety, we can argue this down. Argue it down to what? Suspension, anger management course. You keep your job. Hale put the tablet away. The union will fight this. We've protected officers in worse situations. Keller nodded, feeling the first hint of hope. He had made a mistake, but the union would fix it. They always did. Kendra sat in the academy archives, laptop open, file boxes surrounding her. She had requested all gate incident reports over the years. She built a spreadsheet: name, race, reason for stop, outcome, officer involved. Pattern recognition was her specialty. That was why Commissioner Hale had really hired her, not just to train cadets, but to find the rot. The spreadsheet told a story. The majority of failure to identify stops involved people of color. 0 white civilians or officers were physically restrained. Vance Keller was involved in many incidents, with previous complaints against him, all dismissed after union arbitration. Kendra closed her laptop, opened a new document, and began typing. The next morning, she would burn it all down. Commander Grant's conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, people around the table. The air felt thick with anticipation and dread. Commissioner Marcus Hale sat at the head. Deputy Chief Lena Vargas to his left. Commander Elias Grant to his right. Then Kendra, perfectly composed in her dress uniform, captain's bars polished to mirrors. Across from her, Union President Reed Caldwell, veteran, face like weathered stone. Next to him, Attorney Donovan Hale, leather briefcase open, legal pad covered in notes. And at the far end, looking smaller than he had the day before, Officer Vance Keller, no uniform today, civilian clothes, hands folded on the table, knuckles white. Internal Affairs. Lieutenant Quinn Park sat apart from both sides, recording device visible, witness to whatever came next. Donovan Hale opened. My client deeply regrets the misunderstanding that occurred yesterday morning. However, Captain Whitaker failed to properly identify herself, creating reasonable suspicion that justified Officer Keller's response. While the physical contact was unfortunate, it was not assault. It was an officer attempting to maintain security protocols when faced with a non-compliant individual who made furtive movements. Kendra did not react, did not blink. She simply connected her laptop to the room's display screen. Captain Whitaker. Commissioner Hale nodded to her. You have the floor. Thank you, Commissioner. She stood and clicked her remote. The screen came alive. Before we discuss what happened, I'd like to provide context. Officer Keller didn't act in a vacuum. He acted within a culture that's been operating for years. First slide. Statistics, clean graphs color-coded. Over the years, individuals were stopped at the academy gate for failure to properly identify. Here's the demographic breakdown. The numbers appeared: the majority black, few Latino, 1 Asian, 0 white. During that same period, white civilians and officers entered through that gate. 0 were stopped for identification failures. Caldwell shifted in his seat. That's cherry-picked data. You can't prove racial motivation from statistics alone. You're right. Kendra clicked to the next slide. So let's add specificity. Officer Keller was involved in a significant portion of those stops. And here's what's interesting. New slide, Keller stop record detailed. Of his stops, the majority involved Black individuals, few Latino, 1 Asian, 0 white. Now that could be coincidence, except for this. She pulled up traffic data. Academy gate processes vehicle entries per day. Demographic breakdown of personnel and approved visitors. If Officer Keller was stopping people randomly, we'd expect his stops to roughly match those demographics. Instead, the vast majority of his stops targeted the minority population. Silence in the room. Donovan Hale was writing furiously. Keller stared at the table. But maybe Officer Keller just has really good instincts for catching actual security threats. Kendra's voice stayed level, clinical. Let's check outcomes. Next slide, results of Keller stops. Of the stops, the majority of individuals were legitimate personnel or authorized visitors. Many times Officer Keller stopped someone who belonged here. Few times he caught actual unauthorized individuals. That's a low accuracy rate. For comparison, the Academy average is higher. Officer Lynn, who works the same gate, has a higher accuracy rate with his stops over the same period. She turned to face Keller directly. Officer Keller, you're not good at your job. You're just good at stopping Black people. That's enough. Caldwell stood. You can't make accusations like that without proof of intent. You're right again. Intent is hard to prove. Kendra clicked her remote. So let's talk about training. Officer Keller completed mandatory bias awareness training months ago. The curriculum I designed. He scored high on the final exam. The training certificate appeared on screen, Keller's signature at the bottom. This training specifically covered 3 key areas. 1. Officers must verify credentials before assuming intent. 2. Physical force may only be used when an officer can articulate specific observable threats. 3. Assumptions based on appearance constitute bias-based policing and are grounds for discipline. She zoomed in on the certificate. Officer Keller passed this training. He demonstrated comprehension of these principles, which means he didn't act out of ignorance. He acted with full knowledge that what he was doing was wrong. Kendra turned back to Keller. Officer Keller, what specific observable threat did I pose when I told you I was reporting for duty? Keller looked at Donovan Hale. Hale shook his head slightly. Don't answer that. Let me rephrase. Kendra's voice got quieter, sharper. I told you I was reaching for my credentials. I told you exactly where they were. I moved slowly. I kept my hands visible. Which part of my behavior suggested a weapon? Silence. The training you passed teaches that furtive movements are accompanied by specific indicators, darting eyes, hands hidden, rapid movements, verbal inconsistency. I displayed none of those, so I'll ask again. What threat did you observe? More silence. Keller's jaw worked. No sound came out. Nothing. Kendra answered her own question. You observed nothing because there was no threat. There was just a Black woman who didn't match your picture of what a captain looks like. She clicked to the next slide, video footage, high definition from the Academy's parking lot security cameras. Attorney Hale suggested the viral video doesn't show the full interaction. He's right. Here's the full footage. No cuts, no edits, just facts. She pressed play. No one in the room moved. The video showed everything. Kendra's Mercedes pulling up, her window rolling down, her calm greeting, Keller's dismissive gesture, the conversation. audio clear enough to hear every word. Kendra's repeated attempts to identify herself. Her explicit statement, "I'm reaching for my badge on my lanyard inside my blazer." The slap, the badge falling. And then for moments the badge lay on the ground, face up. Captain's shield visible, Whitaker K clearly engraved. The camera angle caught it perfectly. Keller standing over it, never looking down, never seeing what he had refused to see. Kendra stopped the video. 4 opportunities to see my credentials. He chose not to look because if he had looked, he would have had to admit he was wrong. And men like Officer Keller don't admit they're wrong to women like me. That's inflammatory. Donovan Hale's voice had lost its confidence. "You're making this about race and gender when it's about security protocols." "You're right. Let's make it about security protocols." Kendra pulled up a new document, Philadelphia Police Department General Order, Section, Gate Security Procedures. Quote, "All personnel claiming legitimate access shall have their credentials verified through visual inspection and database confirmation before any denial of entry. Physical force is authorized only after verbal commands fail and subject demonstrates intent to breach security through action." She looked at Keller. "Did you visually inspect my credentials?" No answer. "Did you confirm my name in the database, Whitaker, not the mispronounced version, the name I gave you multiple times?" No answer. "Did I demonstrate intent to breach security? Did I try to drive through the gate? Did I become physically aggressive?" Keller finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "You reached into your jacket after telling you exactly what I was doing, after asking permission, after moving slowly enough that you had time to stop me verbally." Kendra's voice cut like steel. "You didn't use words. You used your hands because words would have required you to listen." She clicked to the next slide. The room went silent. It was a letter. Official Pennsylvania State Seal. Attorney General's Office letterhead. "There's one more thing you should know." Kendra read from the letter. "This is to inform Philadelphia Police Department that Captain Kendra Whitaker has been appointed Special Investigator for Patterns of Discrimination in Municipal Law Enforcement, effective recently. Captain Whitaker is granted subpoena power for all department records and personnel files. She will investigate systemic bias in hiring, promotion, and discipline procedures across all Pennsylvania law enforcement agencies." The room exploded. Caldwell was on his feet. "You set him up. This was a trap from the beginning." "No." Commissioner Marcus Hale's voice cracked like a whip. Everyone froze. "Captain Whitaker was appointed training commander months ago. Her special investigator role was approved by the state weeks ago. Officer Keller set himself up the moment he decided her badge wasn't worth looking at." Kendra turned to Keller. Her voice went soft, almost kind. "You didn't know who I was. You didn't know what I could do. But that's the point, Officer Keller. You should treat everyone like they matter because sometimes they do." She clicked her remote one last time. Final slide. 2 options. Here's what happens next. Option 1, I recommend termination for assault, bias-based policing, and conduct unbecoming. The union fights it. This goes to arbitration. And I subpoena every case you've touched over the years, every stop, every arrest, every use of force report. We examine them all under public scrutiny. Keller went pale. Option 2. You resign today. You accept mandatory counseling. You forfeit your pension eligibility and you testify publicly about the culture that enabled your behavior. You help me fix this system. You become part of the solution instead of the problem. That's coercion. Donovan Hale slammed his hand on the table. You can't force him to choose between his career and his rights. I'm not forcing anything. I'm offering options. He chose his career when he decided assaulting me was acceptable. Now he gets to choose what happens next. Kendra closed her laptop and looked at Keller one last time. You have until end of day. After that, I file formal charges. And Officer Keller, I don't lose cases. Not when I have video, witnesses, and years of pattern evidence. Choose wisely. She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Gentlemen, this isn't just about a slap. It's about years of people like you deciding people like me don't belong. That calculus just changed. Get used to it. The door closed behind her. The room stayed silent for a full minute. Then Keller put his face in his hands and started to cry. In the commissioner's executive suite, the power room where decisions that shaped the city got made, behind mahogany doors and floor-to-ceiling windows, the conference table sat. Today it held several people. Commissioner Marcus Hale at the head, Kendra to his right, Deputy Chief Lena Vargas beside her, City Solicitor Amanda Chen, legal pad covered in notes, recording everything, Union President Reed Caldwell, Attorney Donovan Hale, and a new face, Vincent Calder, Regional Union Representative, brought in when Caldwell realized this was bigger than one guard. 3 city council members summoned by Hale an hour ago. Councilman Isaiah Brooks, a black councilman from West Philadelphia, Councilwoman Sophia Reyes, Latina from South Philly, Councilman Nolan Reed, white progressive from Center City. All 3 saw political opportunity and jumped at it. The city's power structure compressed into one room, all here because Kendra Whitaker refused to accept a slap and move on. Kendra connected her laptop. No preamble, no small talk. For the past period, I've conducted an audit of department disciplinary records. Here's what I found. First slide. Numbers that made people shift in their seats. Complaints of bias-based policing filed against Philadelphia police officers. The majority were dismissed without investigation. Councilman Isaiah Brooks leaned forward. How is that possible? Union contract language. Kendra clicked to the next slide. Legal text, highlighted sections. Quote, past practice shall govern in ambiguous situations. That clause means if previous complaints were dismissed, future similar complaints default to dismissal. It's a self-reinforcing system. The more complaints you dismiss, the easier it becomes to dismiss future complaints. City Solicitor Chen nodded slowly. We've been trying to renegotiate that language for years. The union won't budge because it protects bad actors. Kendra advanced the slide. Of the complaints that were actually investigated, the majority involved white officers. Few involved officers of color. Here's the outcome differential. The numbers appeared officers of color. High percentage resulted in discipline. White officers, low percentage resulted in discipline. Same types of complaints, same evidence standards, different outcomes based on who wore the uniform. Calder, the regional rep, spoke up. Deep voice, accent. Those numbers don't prove bias. They prove officers of color had weaker cases or less union representation quality. Really? Kendra pulled up individual case files. Let's compare. Officer James Rodriguez, Latino, veteran. Complaint: aggressive language during traffic stop. Evidence: dash cam video showed he raised his voice. Outcome: suspension, mandatory anger management. She clicked to the next file. Officer Brian McCreary, white, veteran. Complaint: aggressive language and physical intimidation during traffic stop. Evidence: body camera showed he grabbed suspect's collar, pushed him against the car, used profanity. Outcome: verbal counseling, no formal discipline. She let that sit. Both had the same union rep. Both cases went through the same review process. Different outcomes. You tell me why. Silence. Here's the financial impact. New slide, dollar figures. The city has paid millions in settlements for discrimination cases over the years. Of that, a significant amount involved officers with prior complaints that were dismissed through union arbitration. Councilwoman Sophia Reyes whistled low. Almost $1 million because we kept bad cops on the street. Worse than that? Kendra clicked again. These settlements came from the city's general fund, not the police budget, which means schools, infrastructure, social services all lost funding to pay for police misconduct. You're asking taxpayers to subsidize bias. Commissioner Marcus Hale leaned back. He had known most of this, but hearing Kendra present it, seeing council members react, he knew they had crossed a threshold. No going back now. Kendra kept going. Our current bias training has a high completion rate. Sounds great. Except complaints haven't decreased. They've increased since we implemented training. Graph appeared. Training without enforcement is theater. Officers know they will face no consequences, so they ignore what they learned. We're spending taxpayer money on education we don't enforce. She turned to face Caldwell directly. Here's what's going to happen, not what I'm suggesting, what's happening. You can cooperate or you can fight. Either way, these changes are coming. She clicked to a new slide, Action Plan. Immediate actions. Officer Keller resigns or faces termination. All officers involved in dismissed complaints undergo reinvestigation by the Independent Review Board. We're creating revised gate security protocols. Mandatory credential verification before any interaction. Body cameras required for all gate personnel. Caldwell started to interrupt. Kendra kept talking. Systemic reforms. New early intervention system. Officers with complaints in months get automatically flagged. Independent Review Board with civilian majority for all bias complaints. Union contract renegotiation. We're removing the past practice clause. Mandatory audits of stop demographics by district. You can't just demand contract renegotiation. Calder's voice rose. We have a legally binding agreement. City Solicitor Chen smiled, thin, sharp. Your contract has a clause. Nothing herein shall protect officers engaging in unlawful conduct. Civil rights violations are unlawful. Captain Whitaker isn't breaking your contract. She's enforcing the part you've been ignoring. Kendra continued, legal framework. City charter amendment, making bias-based policing grounds for automatic termination. State legislation, removing qualified immunity for civil rights violations with documented pattern evidence. DOJ Civil Rights Division audit of the entire department. She closed her laptop and looked around the room. That's the plan. Commissioner Hale has approved it. Council members, you'll vote on the charter amendment next period. Union, you have time to agree to contract renegotiation or we go to court. This is extortion. Donovan Hale was pale. You're destroying careers, undermining labor protections, all because one officer made a mistake. One officer. Kendra's voice went cold. I've shown you hundreds of complaints, high percentage dismissed, millions in settlements, years of pattern evidence. This isn't about one officer. This is about a system that's been broken for decades. Councilman Isaiah Brooks addressed Caldwell. How many officers does your union represent? Thousands. And how many has Captain Whitaker identified with repeat complaints? Kendra answered. With 2 or more complaints. Percent. Brooks did the math aloud. You're threatening to burn down the department to protect a small percentage of your membership who don't deserve protection. Caldwell's face went red. Those officers deserve due process. They deserve representation. You're asking us to throw away years of negotiated rights. Rights to do what? Kendra leaned forward. To hit people who don't show proper deference. To stop drivers based on skin color. To intimidate citizens without consequence. Those aren't rights. Those are privileges. And they end today. She played a video, compilation footage of incidents over the years, all from body cameras or CCTV. Black citizens stopped, questioned aggressively, detained without cause. Latino teenager thrown against a wall during a stop and frisk. Asian business owner arrested for trespassing at his own store. Every officer involved had prior complaints. Every complaint dismissed. The room watched in silence. When it ended, Councilman Nolan Reed spoke quietly. How many of those officers are still on duty? All of them. Kendra's voice was flat. Every person in those videos sued the city. We paid settlements, and every officer involved is still carrying a badge. Commissioner Marcus Hale stood. I've authorized Captain Whitaker's plan in full. The reforms begin soon. Union leadership, you have time to signal cooperation. After that, we proceed without you. You can't do this without us. Caldwell stood too. We'll file grievances. We'll fight every termination. We'll tie this up in arbitration for years. Hale's voice was steel. Because I'm also authorizing something else. Captain Whitaker is expanding her special investigator role statewide. Pennsylvania has many police departments. We're auditing all of them. This isn't just Philadelphia's problem, it's everyone's problem, and we're going to fix it. Calder and Caldwell exchanged looks. The calculation was clear. Fight this publicly and become the face of police resistance to accountability, or cooperate and maintain some control over the narrative. We need time to discuss with membership. Calder's voice was measured, careful. This is a major shift. You have time. Kendra stood, gathering her laptop. After that, I release my full report to media and the Department of Justice, every case, every complaint, every dismissed investigation, all of it public record. She walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Officer Keller made his choice earlier. He resigned. He's accepting counseling, and he's agreed to testify at the city council hearing about the culture that enabled his behavior. No immunity, no pension, no future in law enforcement. You destroyed his life. Donovan Hale's voice shook slightly. No. Kendra's eyes were hard. He destroyed his own career the moment he decided my credentials weren't worth looking at. I just made sure everyone knew about it. She opened the door. Councilman Isaiah Brooks called after her. Captain Whitaker, you just rewrote the rules of policing in this city. Kendra looked back. No, council member. I just enforced the rules that always existed. We've been ignoring them for years. Not anymore. The door closed behind her. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then Caldwell pulled out his phone and started making calls. They had lost. He knew it. Now it was about minimizing damage. Commissioner Marcus Hale looked at the city council members. I need your votes on that charter amendment. Brooks grinned. You'll have them unanimously. This is good policy and great politics. I don't care about politics. Hale's voice was tired. I care about doing the job right. Finally. Union vote, cooperation approved. The margin shocked everyone, including Caldwell. Turned out most officers wanted the bad actors gone. They were tired of taking heat for the worst percentage. Caldwell's statement to media, we represent the majority of officers who do this job with honor. These reforms protect them too. Good cops have nothing to fear from accountability. Newgate protocols went live. Every guard station got an iPad with verification software. Visitor scans ID or badge at kiosk. System checks department database in real time. Guard sees photo rank authorization on screen. Gate won't open without system confirmation. Cost funded by cutting overtime budget. De-escalation training became mandatory for gate personnel. First class officers, including Lynn. All interactions recorded, randomly audited weekly. 0 complaints in the first period. 0 in the second, pattern broken. Early intervention system launched. Software monitored complaints. Use of force reports. Stop demographics automatically. Complaints in months triggered automatic review. Use of force rate twice peer average triggered review. Stop demographics diverging more than % from district demographics triggered review. Independent review panel formed. Members, civilians, NAACP rep, ACLU attorney, university criminologist, police officers elected by rank and file vote, 1 city council appointee, 1 human relations commission rep. They had subpoena power. They could override union arbitration in civil rights cases. First meeting drew observers. Reinvestigation of dismissed complaints began. Officers flagged for review. Kendra assigned a team of investigators. No pressure for specific outcomes, just truth. The work took weeks. Results came back in detailed reports. Cases had insufficient evidence. Complaints lacked corroboration or contradicted by multiple witnesses. Those officers were cleared completely, no action. Cases showed evidence of bias but with mitigating factors. First-time offenders, minor violations. Context suggested poor judgment rather than malice. Mandatory retraining, probation. Some transferred to administrative roles. Second chance with conditions. Cases revealed clear pattern violations. Multiple complaints, video evidence, witness statements aligned. Those officers got suspended without pay, probation, body cameras required for every shift. One more violation meant termination. Cases were egregious. Falsified reports, repeated targeting of minorities, clear intent to harm or intimidate. Termination proceedings started immediately. Union fought some, lost most. Cases were criminal. Assault, false arrest with malice, falsified evidence, referred to district attorney, resulted in charges. 1 conviction so far. Sergeant Curtis Brennan became the test case. Veteran. Complaints dismissed over years. Reinvestigation found he had falsified arrest reports. Body camera footage proved he targeted black motorists, stopped them without cause, searched vehicles without permission. One video caught him telling his partner, "Let's see what we can find," before pulling over a black driver who hadn't violated any traffic law. They searched the car for minutes, found nothing. Let the driver go with a warning for suspicious behavior. Union fought his termination hard, took it to arbitration. Arbitrator watched the videos, read the reports, ruled in the department's favor. Termination upheld. First time in years, Philadelphia PD won an arbitration on termination. Data Transparency Initiative launched. Kendra built a public website, Philly PD Accountability. Real-time statistics updated weekly. Complaints filed by category, resolution status for each officer, discipline records anonymized by badge number but fully detailed, stop demographics by district, use of force incidents with context, unique visitors in the first month. Media covered it nationally. Other cities started asking for the code. Complaints spiked in month. Expected. People were more willing to report when they believed something would happen. Substantiation rate jumped. Better investigations, actual follow-through. New mediation program resolved of complaints without formal discipline. Officer and complainant met with trained mediator. Sometimes it was miscommunication. Sometimes it was an officer having a bad day. Those situations got resolved with apologies, explanations, understanding. Not every complaint needed a termination. University ran a survey of Philadelphia residents. Results: aware of recent reforms, somewhat more confident in PPD accountability, wanted to see long-term results before judging, remained skeptical. Fair enough. Trust takes time. Kendra redesigned academy training from the ground up. No more lecture-based bias courses where cadets dozed off. Scenario-driven immersion. Simulations with professional actors. Cadets graded on tone, assumption patterns, constitutional compliance. Failed first attempt, had to repeat. Some washed out entirely. Better to lose them in training than on the streets. Community engagement became mandatory. Hours in neighborhoods they would patrol, attend community meetings, shadow social workers, visit residents in high-crime areas with permission, write reflection papers. Who are we serving? Became the central question. De-escalation certification replaced old use of force training. Stress test scenarios. Mental health crisis. Domestic violence. Armed suspect. Use of force only permitted after exhausting verbal de-escalation. Psychologists watched through one-way glass, gave real-time feedback. Final exam included, your partner uses excessive force. What do you do? Wrong answer meant automatic fail. No exceptions. Blue wall of silence died in that training room. Officers needed retraining. Staggered schedule, officers per month, timeline, pass rate, required second attempt. Better than expected. City Council passed the Police Accountability Act. Vote, bipartisan support. Bias-based policing became terminable offense with no arbitration shield. Officers must intervene if witnessing peer misconduct. Failure to intervene carried same penalty as the violation itself. Qualified immunity removed for civil rights violations with documented pattern evidence. Annual independent audits mandatory. Union contract renegotiated. Past practice clause removed entirely. New language. Constitutional rights supersede departmental precedent. Arbitration still existed for procedural disputes, not for civil rights violations. Officers gained something too. Mental health support funding increased. New peer support program. Kendra insisted on it. Can't demand accountability without providing support. Stressed officers make bad decisions. Mental health matters. Officer Keller testified before City Council, minutes under oath, televised. He sat in civilian clothes. No lawyer beside him, he had waived that right. I was taught by senior officers that certain people didn't belong in certain roles. When I questioned it, they told me I'd understand after a few years. They were wrong. I was wrong. The system rewarded officers who knew how to handle people. That meant aggressive stops, assumptions, intimidation. I thought I was protecting the academy. I was protecting a culture of exclusion. Council member asked, "Why didn't you just look at her badge?" Keller paused. Seconds of silence on live TV. Because I'd already decided she didn't belong. The badge wouldn't have changed my mind in that moment. That's the problem. I wasn't looking for truth. I was confirming my bias. Captain Whitaker deserved better. Everyone I stopped deserved better. The clip went viral, million views. Police departments in cities requested copies of Philadelphia's reform protocols. International Association of Chiefs of Police invited Kendra to keynote their national conference. Real-life stories like this don't usually end with systems changing. But sometimes, when the right person gets slapped at the right gate, everything shifts. Months later, Kendra arrived at her office early. Same as always. Training commander suite. Wall covered in data. Complaint trends. Training completion rates. Use of force statistics, all trending in the right direction. She touched her cheek. The mark had faded completely. But she remembered the sound of that slap, the shock of it, the calculation that followed. She had been here before in different forms. Every black woman in America had a story like this. But most stories ended with swallowed rage and continued injustice. This time was different. Her phone buzzed. Commissioner Hale. DOJ released preliminary audit findings. They're recommending our model for federal adoption. We're months in. Too early to declare victory. You've proven it works. Complaints down. Use of force down. Community trust up. And we did it without losing officers. Retention is up. Good cops feel protected now. He was right. The good ones had been waiting for this. Tired of being lumped in with the bad ones, tired of the percentage making their jobs harder. Cities had fully adopted the Philadelphia model. Pilot program in precincts, focusing on gate protocols, implementing independent review boards, using the early intervention system. Other cities declined after union pushback, all said no. Officers need split-second decision-making freedom, their unions argued. Kendra's response in an interview: split-second decisions built on years of bias kill people. We're retraining the years, not the seconds. Harvard Kennedy School made it a case study. Criminology programs teaching her model. Congressional subcommittee invited her to testify next month. Real-life stories of justice rarely reached this level of systemic change. But stories of transformation were starting to multiply across the country. There were costs. Her relationship ended. Partner couldn't handle the public scrutiny, the death threats, the constant media attention. Her mother's health declined from stress. Kendra visited twice monthly now. She worked long weeks minimum. Received death threats taken seriously enough that PPD assigned her a security detail, lost friends in law enforcement who saw her as a traitor to the badge. But she had gained something too. Her daughter texted her, "Mom, you're literally changing history." Emails from citizens thanking her. Respect from officers who had wanted change but feared speaking up. Purpose. This was why she had become a cop years ago. Officer Keller worked in a warehouse now. Logistics supervisor, lower salary down from previous. Divorced, supervised visitation with his kids. But he attended therapy voluntarily beyond what was mandated. Local news interviewed him. Do you regret testifying? No, I regret what I did. Testifying was the first honest thing I'd done in years. Captain Whitaker gave me a chance to help fix what I broke. Most people don't get that. 0 bias complaints at academy gates in months. 0 use of force incidents involving gate personnel. The iPad system worked, but more than that, the culture had shifted. Guards knew they were being watched. New accountability was real. Behavior followed. Kendra stood at her window, looking down at the gate where it all started. A black woman in a Mercedes pulled up. The guard stepped out, checked his iPad, verified her credentials, waved her through with a smile. Seconds. Professional. Respectful, how it should have always been. These stories, these real-life stories of confronting injustice and dismantling broken systems, remind us that change is possible when someone refuses to accept that a slap is just the cost of existing. Kendra Whitaker refused to accept it, and a city changed because of it. If this story moved you, share it. If you've experienced injustice like this, comment below. If you believe accountability matters, subscribe. These stories need to be told. These systems need to be changed. And it starts with people like you refusing to stay silent.